Hey, guess what, kākou? Spooky season has officially arrived. Which means that I think it's finally a good enough time to talk about why this Hawaiian loves the Scream franchise. And I'm sure you folks must be wondering, no eau, I thought this was a Hawaii-focused series. And to that I'll say, well, I'm in Oiwi, a result of the Kumulipo or Hawaii universe. And just like I expressed in Season 1, Episode 1 of this series, Hawaii is literally in my DNA. And this Kanaka Hawaii just so happens to find fascination in things that others seem to define as spooky. And one of those things happened to be spooky movies. Okay, so throwback to when I was in about the 3rd or 4th grade. My ohana and I used to frequent the Pohoa Public Library quite a bit. That's where I used to borrow all the Pele videos from, remember? Well, up until that time in my life, I had never actually sat down and watched the spooky movie before. The closest I had gotten to was Michael Jackson's Thriller, which I would mostly watch for the singing and dancing. But other than that, I was still going strong in the whole Pokemon and Power Rangers phase that every single keiki kaani of the 90s seem to have gone through for some reason. The power of media, yeah. Anyways, I remember it was around then that I had like a sudden curiosity or urge to watch a spooky movie just to see if I could handle, yeah, and be brave. So I asked my parents, and surprisingly, they said yes. They decided that next time we go to the library, they let me pick 2 spooky movies, but the catch was that I had to sit through them both all the way. No stopping it because it was too spooky, and no crying for turn them off. Basically, if this is something I wanted to do, I had to go through with it 100%. So I was like, bet. So we went to the library and I ended up choosing John Carpenter's Halloween and Wes Craven's Scream. I got home and put on Halloween first. My younger siblings also decided to join in on the fun, as well as some of our lovely neighborhood friends at the time. And we basically all sat down and got traumatized together. Shout out to Miley. I'll never forget you jumping out of your seat the first time Michael Myers popped out onto the screen. But yeah, that movie, especially the soundtrack, was super creepy. I'm pretty sure I spent most of that film hiding under a blanket, waiting for it to be over. Then from there, we went straight into Scream. And I have this vivid memory of the opening sequence with Drew Barrymore being on, and I'm hiding, like for real kind, hiding under a pillow crying for anyone to turn this movie off. You see, in Halloween, a lot of the violence went unseen. And I'm talking the original Halloween, yeah? Not the Rob Zombie remake or the 2018 version of Halloween. The OG Halloween. Yeah, a lot of the violence in that film actually happened off camera. Whereas in Scream, the opening sequence, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. If you haven't, stop this video, go watch them now. No, but for real though. But yeah, in Scream, the opening sequence literally starts with Drew Barrymore and her boyfriend getting chased and brutally murdered, like ripped open kind, by a serial killer. And my 9-year-old brain was not having it. In fact, to this day, like, I still love spooky movies, but I do not like violent, bloody scenes. Nope, not about that. But luckily, right after all that visual torture, enters Sydney Prescott, this young and naive, but also brave and strong wahine who becomes the heroine of this entire franchise. And I'm telling you, kākou, this wahine gets put through the most. Not only did she have to deal with the loss of her mother at a really young age, and being constantly attacked by a psychotic killer, aka Ghostface, but she also has to deal with the constant betrayal from friends, lovers, and even family members. And you know what? She pulls through every single time. So, reason 1 why I love this franchise is simply Sydney Prescott. This character is strong, vulnerable, and consistently overcomes all the monsters in her life. And she uses all of her life lessons to help other people overcome their monsters as well. Sydney Prescott was my hi'iaka before I ever knew of hi'iaki Kopolio Pele, which I know might be sad for some to hear, but that's the reality for a good bunch of Kanaka today. We don't hear our mo'olelo, we don't see ourselves up on the screen yet, so we're kind of forced to find meaning in other kind of things. But anyways, reason 2. The Scream movies are fun. It's a film that manages to both be scary and funny, and you actually care for these characters. Yes, there are brutal killing scenes and tons of jump scares, but you keep watching just to see how the story unfolds and to make sure that your favorite characters survive and make it to the sequel. Speaking of characters, Reason 3, the murder mystery aspect. One of the best parts of this franchise is that each movie features a different set of villains behind the Ghostface mask, meaning that as a viewer, you get to play detective and try and figure out which character is behind the Ghostface mask before the final act of the movie. And that makes watching these movies with a group of friends, or even a full-on movie theater audience for the first time, le'a loa. Cause then everyone around you, including yourself, is trying to figure out who Ghostface is. So yeah, I love these movies so much. Now what does any of this have to do with Hawaii? Well, clearly Scream is not a Hawaii story. It's not made by Hawaiians, nor does it stem from any Hawaiian beliefs or perspectives. However, similar to our own mo'olelo and ka'au, we can attempt to look at it and find meanings and values that do correlate to our Hawaii worldviews. However, and this is a big however, okay, so pay attention. If we are to do so, we have to make it utterly clear that the original story is not Hawaiian. Okay, so for those who aren't quite getting it yet, Scream, like the entire franchise, originates from a totally different universe or worldview outside of Hawaii. And although I as a Kanaka can attempt to pull meaning from it, does not mean that I have the power to magically make the source material Hawaii or Hawaiian. Okay, and that's important because that's how we show respect to other people's worldviews and perspectives, by not trying to change it or claim it as our own, yeah? But what I can do as a Kanaka is to see it through my Hawaii lens and try to make some sense of it in that way. Okay, so we'll try and do that again right now. What does Scream do for me as a Kanaka Oiwi? To me, it all comes down to the me'e, or the me'e nui, the main character, the main heroine of this entire series, Sydney Prescott. Sydney, to me, represents what we in Hawaii refer to as a Kanaka makua, or a mature, responsible, overall exceptional human being. Throughout her journey, she learns so much and becomes so eleu to the challenges that life throws at her that she eventually becomes a master of her craft. Now, does she always make it out of every situation unscathed? Ha, ole. But like I said earlier, at the end of the day, she always comes out on top. Kiko Pau. And not only that, but she also uses her ike to help protect and heal others along the way. Even those who are too stubborn and resistant to her teachings and probably don't even deserve it, Sydney is still right there to save the day. And she knows when to bow out and hand things over to the next generation so that they can lead and carve out their own story. Oya he mea nui, yeah? So yeah, if I had to talk about the Scream franchise through a Hawaii lens, this is but one way that I could do so. But again, if I really wanted to talk about Hawaii kind things, I'd probably just talk about something that's actually Hawaii. But okay, mahalo again for tuning in. Go check out the Scream franchise. He kauoha keia. And happy spooky season, kākou. Aloha.